Hey everyone, an important one today on actor mixers, also known as property containers in newer versions. These are crucial to your project for performance and speeding up your workflow within the middleware, and ideally you want to be setting them up and using them from the get-go. To create one, we just click the respective button in the audio tab. Alternatively, we can reparent existing voices and sound effects by right-clicking and adding a new parent. Do note that these cannot be placed inside containers, such as random containers and blend containers. I already have a few set up in this project, and the main benefit of doing so is to manage our project's memory consumption. Since properties such as positioning and RTPCs are all shared by child objects, having them on the property container ensures that they are only processed once. Furthermore, sharing as many properties as possible, we in turn avoid using overrides, which also optimizes our project. For example, if we had 10 sounds individually overriding its parent's 3D settings, but all sharing the same 3D settings, then we'll be using 10 times more memory at runtime than if we had just set the 3D settings on the parent actor mixer. Looking at the ones I've set up, you will notice that the master property container dictates a few things. Firstly, it routes all child sounds to the sound effects bus by default. Personally, I don't like setting to the master bus by default, since I have finer control at a higher level, such as configuring the bus configuration. Secondly, and arguably most importantly, is the positioning settings. In my case, I have set all sounds by default to be 3D spatialized. On average, more sounds will be implemented as 3D than 2D. Also in this section is the attenuation, which we have set to one of the presets, as well as the diffraction and transmission, which I have enabled. Lastly, we have the advanced settings, where all sounds are limited to 7 per game object by default. Any more than this is killed. You'll also notice we are killing all finite virtual voices and sending all non-finite, also known as looping sounds, to a virtual voice. Now earlier we said that actor mixers are a good way to avoid overrides, but there are cases where you'll want to. For example, our ambience property container inherits all of the master positioning properties, but our player does not. This is because we don't need the player sounds to diffract and transmit, since these sounds are attached to the default listener, and therefore shouldn't be processed as they are unlikely to be blocked by anything. We also reduce the attenuation here, since we don't need to be processing a large radius compared to sounds that are not attached to the player. There are also overrides like the UI property container, which ignores all positioning settings since these sounds are all 2D. Alongside this, we also override the output bus to send to the UI output bus instead. One last thing to note is that property container values are additive, so if we set the volume to +3 on the master and +3 on the player sounds would then be +6.